And then our main topic here on Mastering Dungeons, we are so very pleased to have with us Savannah Houston-McIntyre. Savannah, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me.
So
awesome to have you.
It's awesome to have you here. We are so excited because in the past, we've mentioned Legends of Greyhawk. And at one point, I said, we should get someone on to talk about it who really knows it. And you are someone who is helping run it. So you are perfect to have on. And last week, we also talked about RealmsBound, the new Ed Greenwood and Mythmakers project, which you are also involved in. So we are going to talk to you about a lot of stuff today. But before we get started, could you just introduce yourself to our listeners and let them know sort of who you are within this industry of ours?
Certainly. So my name is Savannah Houston-McIntyre. I'm the creative director for Baldwin Games, and I'm also the marketing director and a senior designer for Mythmakers, who runs RealmsBound.
That's awesome.
Okay. So give us your origin story in terms of being a gamer. When did you come into gaming, and what was your experience like with gaming?
So my cool aunt first introduced me when I was 8 years old. She ran a one-shot for me and my brothers, and I don't think she realized the impression it left on me because she didn't attempt to run it again. But when I was 13, I found a group of boys in school who were running a game and joined. And after a few months of playing, they asked me to transition to being the dungeon master. As I guess they liked my theater of mind style. It was very different from what they were doing.
That's a great sign that you start playing with them and they go, "How about you're the DM?" That's great.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I went to international school, and the school moved cities. And when it did that, half of my players returned to their home countries. And rather than ending the campaign, we transitioned it to IRC, and I built a dice bot because their video conferencing wasn't really something we had access to. And that was really, that really increased the size of my world because then friends of friends wanted to join, and then people that heard about these games in online worlds, forums, sorry. And I had 2 homebrew campaigns that were running weekly. And I had wait lists at one point. So it was a very, very unique experience. I still prefer around the table, but it was cool. And most of those players I've met with in person over time. Some of them came to my wedding, and we ran a reunion adventure after like an hour after the wedding.
Oh my gosh, that's so funny.
Yeah. So it was a very personal experience, I think, for me too, because I have an auditory processing disorder and didn't really communicate well during that time. My speech was incredibly delayed when I was young. So I think D&D also shaped, being able to communicate and my future of talking on panels and in schools and libraries. It's just been a remarkable experience.
I love it.
That's great.
That's great. I didn't know any of this background, but it so fits now that to put that with what I know about you as a professional and all the accolades you get for world building and leading people. And so this is great. I've loved hearing this.
So what you said that your aunt didn't have an idea of the impression that gaming left on you. What was that impression that gaming left on you?
Just the creativity and the self-expression that you could put into a character.
Mm.
And, I've read studies about how acting and role play can help develop your brain chemistry, basically. And I love playing a good bard. You've both been in a game with me where I played a bard. And really, I think as a kid with issues with communication, being forced into a role where I was supposed to be the face of the party and handle that social aspect in the communication, that really helped me flourish as a child.
Nice. And then taking the step from playing a character to presenting an adventure, presenting a world, what was that like? And was that the point where you were like, I want to do this? This is the greatest thing ever? Or was it these boys need somebody to tell them a story? So here we go.
I think it was just the greatest thing ever for me. Just the freedom to create a narrative and guide people through a very human story. Dungeons and Dragons is so magical. Just it's right in the name, dragons, right? we're talking about mythic things. But I've always tried to find some realism to ground my stories in. And I have a habit of putting a little bit of myself in everything I create. Even going back to my first adventure that I wrote for Baldman Games, it's a horror story. You're investigating a village where all of the soldiers have gone missing, and finding these terrifying bits of what happened and the monsters that have created it. But at the very beginning, you meet a mother looking for her son, right? And she accompanies you, and you experience the story with her view of finding her son and watching him become a monster and having to make a very critical decision. And for me, that was adding that realism, that realistic story to this huge fantasy of a mother is looking for her son, and giving the players that emotional thread to guide them through this mystery.
Wow, that's cool.
Yeah. So you mentioned writing that first adventure for Baldwin Games. Was that your first designing for a larger audience than just a home group? Or what was your experience moving from a DM for your own players to a more industry view of the world here?
So a more industry view of kind of my D&D realm was actually a webcomic called Amia Chronicles that I did before adventure writing. And that's actually how Baldwin Games found me. Specifically Eric Menge, he latched on to my comic and said, "Hey, would you consider designing an adventure for us?" And that was a very unique experience, writing with the intent of hundreds of people experiencing this adventure, especially with convention play, where there's going to be multiple tables sitting and playing it at the same time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And how did that, coming into this convention space and all that is involved with like special events, epics, and seeing the storylines, how did that speak to you? Like, what did you latch onto from that?
I think what made me stay wasn't so much the writing process itself, but the community. The convention play community welcomed me forcefully, wanted to know who I was.
Welcomed you with shackles?
Yes. And I just made friends so quickly. And so many of them, we only see each other 3 times a year, depending on the convention schedule. But it's like we never left that space when we reconnect and continue our conversations and life updates. And I very much fell head over heels in love with the community.
Mm-hmm.
So you wrote that first adventure for Baldman Games, working with Eric. What then was your path through? You wrote more adventures. You helped.
I wrote one more adventure. So Robert was my lead designer, and after I wrote Unseen Army, he invited me to write again in Rising Shadows, and I said, "Are you sure you just had me write for you?" And he said, "I hope you know I'm never going to let you go." And I think it was the following year I was brought in as a trilogy lead, so the lead designer for select trilogies under Rising Shadows. And from there, I was then brought on as lead designer, project lead of Malefic Delusions, and then solo project lead of Promise of Blossoms. And then was thrust into Legends of Greyhawk from there. And Legends of Greyhawk and RealmsBound both happened about the same time, late 2024 is when those projects started to come together.
And for folks who don't know, each of these names that you're dropping is an arc of adventures, right? And so there is a lot that's happening, and maybe talk a bit about your role of like, what is it like to lead an arc like that? What does that mean?
So it's pretty incredible. There's definitely a contrast. When I'm writing my own adventure, I can just go into my mind palace and I sculpt a lot of it just through visual pictures. And when you're working as a lead designer or project lead, it really comes down to trust and communication. As I, have 20 or more staff under me at a time helping shape a storyline. So with Legends of Greyhawk, specifically, I need to take an even further step back, right? So I'm sculpting on a very broad level. These are the story beats we need to hit. These are the NPCs that are traveling through regions. I have many meetings with my lead designers about, what the shape of the region should be. And then they give me their concept. I review it. I do a lot of yes or I like this, but we could make it better. But ultimately, I want them to have as much creative control of their regions as possible. And I'm there to, A, as backup, B, to help them polish it to the best it can be, and to make sure it's all cohesive. Especially, Baldman Games has control of multiple regions, and we have one meta plot in the background. So we need that connective tissue to work. And then from there, we want the writers to have a say as well, right? We want them to be writing something that really moves them and that they'll connect with, so they have a chance to review and make recommendations and alterations to their outline. And this all happens before the writing process begins. Yeah. So there's a lot of work that goes into it. And then eventually, we have a few meetings along the way, but the final product comes back to me, and I go through it one more time to, make sure it fits, and then it goes off into the wild, and that can be, a bit of a scary process when so many eyes are going to be on it. But as in comparison with creating solo, it's just a whole lot of trust, communication, but it's incredibly rewarding and amazing to see it all come together.
Yeah, I bet.
So let's talk about Legends of Greyhawk in a little more detail. For those who don't know much about organized play, or maybe have only heard of something like Adventurers League, what is Legends of Greyhawk? How does it work? And what are the differences from, say, something like the Adventurers League from past times?
So, Legends of Greyhawk is Wizards of the Coast's a new organized play program. Unlike AL, which is set in the Forgotten Realms, this is set in 576 CY Greyhawk. In comparison, it has much slower leveling progression and much tighter restrictions around magic items. It's convention first, but the first adventures will be coming out. I don't have an exact date. I apologize. But I do know it will be around the first quarter of this year.
Okay.
And the premise of it is that you can play one character that you can take to conventions, to libraries, to any social gathering. And as long as it's using the Legends of Greyhawk system, you can use that same character with different parties, different DMs. And it's really structured to make Dungeons and Dragons more accessible. But it's also intended to be a big way to onboard people into Dungeons and Dragons at conventions. So in terms of material, it needs to be very accessible. We know we're going to have a plethora of players that are sitting down for the very first time to experience this great game that we all love.
Yeah, and
So
I'll just say I've seen players try out some of those first Greyhawk adventures that were brand new, and they had an absolute blast. Even though those are, I'd say, fairly dense adventures, but very fun adventures, and
Yes.
yeah, seeing them jump into it was great.
So if I were a player who wanted to play a Legends of Greyhawk game, how would I go about that? What would I do?
So one of the best places to find where it's going to be playing in your area is the website legendsofgreyhawk.com. I believe we have upcoming premieres listed for all of the premiere organizers and where they'll be running. We're trying to make that information very, very accessible. And the idea is, again, that they'll be out for home play sometime within the first quarter to first half of this year, which will be incredibly accessible because anyone will be able to go and pick it up and run anywhere.
Do we know where those adventures will be found?
I do not know if I'm allowed to say.
That's fair.
That's totally fine.
Fair.
That's totally
Yep.
fine.
Yep.
We completely understand that.
Yeah.
Half of my life is under NDA right
Yeah.
now.
No, understood.
Yeah.
So
well understood.
So that's neat. But clearly right now, I can make a character following those rules. I can go to a convention and play. And in the future, there'll be some way that I could also be running it at my library or wherever and
Yes.
and find people to do that
I think it's reasonable for me to say it will be one of the platforms of Wizards of the Coast. Hopefully they will make a release soon. We're not directly in control of that. So it's the powers that be.
Yeah, no, of course.
In Wizards of the Coast that need to release that information.
But that's really exciting. That'll be really exciting to see. Right now, a lot of the energy is in conventions, and from what I've played and looked at, there is a lot of excitement because of the way the regions are structured and the different storylines. So as you said, there's a master story, and then there are regional stories. And can you tell us a bit about the regions versus the master story?
Yeah, so the master story is all about Thayer's-Dune, which was selected by the players at MagicCon Chicago. So I suppose I should have mentioned this earlier, but one of the premises is you can help shape the story and shape the world. At convention play, we have specials where players need to make decisions, and that reflects on the next year of content. So our first arc through 2025 and 2026 is all around Thayer's-Dune, and we'll see that escalate into 2026 as that becomes more noticeable to players. Right now, it's all in the background, though I don't think it's too hard to put those puzzles together. And then there's 3 premier organizers, and each of us have control over a select amount of regions. So there's West Coast Adventurers Guild, which has the Wild Coast and the Bandit Kingdoms. There's Game Conclave, which has the Duchy of Erst and Lordship of the Isles. And then there's us, Baldwin Games, that have the Domain of Greyhawk, High Folk, Realms of Ferrand. We have special set in Castle Greyhawk. And we have more surprises coming in 2026
Nice.
that are also under lock and key. But and each realm kind of has a flavor to it. So the Domain of Greyhawk, starts out. That's where you get most of your political and urban adventure. Ferrand, you're looking at very swords and sorcery, almost King Arthur, knights and exploration. And High Folk, we've gone with dark exploration. So you're mostly in the Vesvi forest exploring this corruption that's happening.
Love it.
Yeah, I wrote an adventure for this campaign, and at some points I still don't know how it works. So all of this information is so helpful and wonderful. Yeah. So thank you.
And that's because you started at the very beginning before I think these plans were cemented, right, Shawn?
Yeah, exactly.
Yes.
Exactly.
So we were the first ones on the crew, and that was a pretty amazing experience, I think, Shawn, because we actually had a bit of a say in the rules as they were built and developed, and hearing and creating what feedback we were getting from players.
Yeah,
so that was awesome.
That's awesome. So if I'm a player and I've figured out how to play, I'm either going to conventions or these adventures are out there and I'm downloading them and running them with my friends. Where can I go to stay up to date on news? Like what should I be watching, subscribing to, joining so that I'm up to date?
So it's going to be a little bit different for each of the premier organizers. But for Baldwin Games, we have legendsofgreyhawk.com, and we have a summary of all of the adventures that are out to date. We also have a timeline, and we put articles up after the specials are done, which summarizes what happened and the choices that players made. So if you're not able to attend but still want to follow, what that progression, we always have a fun, quirky article about it. Sometimes, matter of fact, sometimes written as if it's from the real world.
Amazing. Yeah, love it. That's great. And then is there I was just going to say, is there a Blue Sky presence or anything like that? Are there socials where people should follow, Discords, things like that?
So Baldwin Games has a social media presence, I think, on all of the platforms. Definitely the community Discord for Baldwin Games would be the best place for postings about upcoming events, opportunities to DM if you wanted to attend shows through DMing. There's a lot of resources there, and the community is so fun and so welcoming. You won't regret joining.
Baldman Games also does the virtual weekends.
Yes.
Will Legends of Greyhawk be available there?
Absolutely, yes. So that's actually where High Folk region premieres first, before it goes to conventions. So not only do you get to experience and play Legends of Greyhawk, as all material will eventually flow through there, but it's incredibly accessible. You can play from anywhere. And also jump in on the premieres of a region.
Nice.
How about with a writer who's out there thinking like, wow, this sounds so cool. I would love to contribute to this campaign. Where do you find your writers? How can someone get noticed by you?
So a lot of it is through communication and recommendations. It just, connecting with people who are writing for us, connecting with me directly, either by email or at a convention or on Discord. I'm very accessible. And we love to bring on new voices. We really, one of my mottos is to tell stories that will connect with everyone. We have to have a lot of perspectives and a lot of diversity on the team. Right. So that's something we really try to highlight.
Yeah. I mean, Teos and I have told this story so many times, but our starts in our careers were through organized play, through living Greyhawk back in the day, through living Forgotten Realms, and so on and so on and so on. And it starts by just getting involved in any way, whether it's playing or being a game master or helping contribute to the marketing or just in some way making your presence not just felt but known in the community as a whole is a wonderful first step to getting to do some of the creative work that Savannah's been talking about.
Absolutely. And also just creating is a great first step as well. So there isn't a process for Legends of Greyhawk yet, but through Adventures League, you can create your own dungeon craft content and actually put it up for sale on DM's Guild. And that way, when you're making an introduction, you actually have a product that you can showcase and say, here's an example of my writing and what I can do. And that gives us not only, a face to put to your name, but also work to put to your name as well. And examples of just how creative you can be.
Yeah. Fantastic. I actually am dying to hear more about the RealmsBound project. We talked about it last week in our news segment. Ed Greenwood and Mythmakers, which you are part of, working together. And we shared last week that just looking at what you'd communicated on the webpage, that there is this process by which a year has a theme. And correct me wherever I'm off, but the year has a theme, and then there will be, I think, 4 releases that are coming out each quarter, working with your awesome team and Ed Greenwood to create these amazing Forgotten Realms releases. And I'd love to hear more.
So I think you've just about nailed it. So the first year we're focusing on the Dale Lands as a segue into the world. And it's just so amazing to be a part of this project, working with some amazing minds. And each year we'll have the 4 products. So it will be the guide to the region. We have insights, which will be all of your NPCs and taverns and all of those safe havens. Then we have an adventure book, which can be standalone adventures or woven into a campaign. And then the Delves, which is taking a much more detailed look at those massive adventure sites. So we're really weaving together the realm, sorry, we're weaving together the Dale lands, I think, on a level it's never really been explored before. Wow. And then at Gen Con this year, we'll release what next year's region will be. And
you can tell us here. We won't let anyone know.
No one will ever know.
As I said, half of my life is an NDA right now, so not too much I can do there. But I think Ed has a remarkable view about design, and his motto is that the Forgotten Realms is a tapestry. So every book that's released, everything that's played at your table, it's all canon in its own way. So we actually started this process with Ed before the new Forgotten Realms books were announced. And when they were announced, we were like, oh, we might need to pull back just a bit and wait, because we wanted to make sure we weren't interrupting that tapestry, right? We wanted to take what Wizards was putting out and build upon it. So you'll see that there's nothing that says, no, that didn't happen. It's very much a yes and situation, which I love. Just the idea of working on this tapestry with such great minds and taking a closer, more detailed look at the realms, and just having a lot of fun, taking what's come before and figuring out where it is now and how it came to be. And if you go onto the RealmsBound website and look at the list of contributors, I think people will see we have a lot of sages who have been working on the the Forgotten Realms from the very beginning, alongside Ed. But then we've got a lot of new faces and new writers who are, giving us different perspectives to their experience with the realms. And I think the one thing that ties us all together is just how much we love the Forgotten Realms, and and how privileged we are to be stewards of it and help bring it a little bit further to the next step.
Great. When you mentioned inns a little bit ago, it made me think of all those great articles that Ed Greenwood would write in Dragon magazine, where he would describe like one inn or tavern, and they would usually have like a neat cutaway art with lots of different rooms and features being labeled, and they would have these really just fanciful, sometimes whimsical, but also curious, thought-provoking descriptions of what each of those is like, and I'm really looking forward to seeing this project.
Oh yes, I can promise you'll feel that again. Eric Menge is our creative director on the project, and he has just such a love for the old Volo guys. So we've taken a lot of inspiration from that.
Great. And what is the format for the releases? Do you want to share that?
Yes, so that I can share. So they'll be available as print on demand right from the start. They're also going to be set up to work with Demiplane and Roll20 right from the start as well. So actually, we're working very closely with the Roll20 teams and the Dungeon Masters Guild to make this happen. That's one reason we haven't set an exact release date yet, as there's now more pieces to the puzzle than we thought there was going to be going in, to make sure that when it launches, you can take the Dale lands anywhere, right? To your VTT, or just a book at your table, or just a PDF on your tablets. So, of course, we have, once we get the soft prints back from the print on demand service and can flip through and make sure everything's perfect, at that point, you'll see the release date splashed everywhere.
Wonderful. And so where's the best place to find that?
That would be on realmsbound.com. We have mailing list. So we're putting out monthly newsletters that have sneak peeks of writing and the wonderful images we have spinning up. And that has all of the important news behind it as well. And the website, as soon as we have an update on release dates, that'll appear instantly.
Awesome. That's great.
So you're in Greyhawk, you're in Faerun. I was trying to think of a world, a fictional world, that has more content than the Forgotten Realms. It has books, novels, games, video games, comics. You could maybe put the Star Wars universe out there. Maybe the Star Trek universe comes close. Yeah. But I can't think of a world that's more written about, more talked about, more used than the Forgotten Realms. How has it been to work in not just that world, but multiple worlds, and trying to stay sane?
So it's, I was talking to my husband about this the other day, that if you had told me the creator of the Forgotten Realms would be trusting me so much with guiding his content, and Wizards trusting me with Greyhawk, 13-year-old me just would have died. Mm-hmm. There's no way I ever pictured being in this situation in my life. But I think in terms of lore, there was a podcast where Ed said recently that I just know things. I just know things. I just know all the secrets. I think very much in pictures and have a very vivid memory. And I think this actually helps me parse the worlds apart from each other. Because when I'm thinking of the lore, I'm not just thinking of the text. I'm thinking of the image it built in my head. And I get very different images between the Forgotten Realms and Greyhawk. And even I did a Grim Hollow adventure. Those were much darker images.
Yes.
Yep.
So I think that helps me keep things in order. In terms of sanity, I don't actually know that I have any left.
Well said.
It's understandable. Yeah. It's a lot of content to juggle, but I am so very glad that you are the one that people are trusting with it, because I know you do great work and with great care.
Yeah, you absolutely do. You have received so many accolades in the last few years from Baldman Games, from fellow creators, from DMs. So it's great to see that recognition that you have absolutely earned.
Thank you so much.
No, thank you. So I'm curious if there's another world that you are also interested in. So you've got Forgotten Realms and Greyhawk. Is there another world that you are keen on that you really dig?
Oh boy. Well, I loved Grim Hollow, so I wouldn't say no to doing more work for them. I'm already doing so much, but I'm generally open to writing for any world, right? I don't think there's a bottom to my well of creativity. I do have my own worlds that I've been shaping for 20 years that I haven't had the courage to take to a publisher or try and self-publish, but I've been considering that as well.
Right, you should.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely. Well, we've taken the time that we have been allotted. So before we sign off, I just wanted to give you the opportunity, besides the Discord and the websites that we've already talked about, is there anywhere people should go to follow you or your work directly?
To follow me directly, I'm pretty much writer savvy on all of the social media platforms. So when I have new projects coming out, I typically put them up there. I am working on a personal website, but have been too busy to complete it. But eventually it will be writersavvy.com as well.
Okay, that's SAVVY.
Yes.
Cool. Awesome. Well, thank you for taking the time to talk to us. Thank you for all the great information on these absolutely amazing two projects. And we are looking forward to seeing them in full fruition coming soon.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks so much.
Well, thank you again for having me.
So what can we say about Savannah? Absolute masterclass in creator, understands exactly what she's doing, knows what she's doing in terms of the project that she's working on. Check out her work if you haven't already. Check out Legends of Greyhawk, and when RealmsBound is ready, check that out as well. Yeah. Thank you out there for listening as well. Our family, our patron family, continues to grow. So we thank everybody who has joined our family, whether you're a Master of Dungeon supporter, a Master of Realm supporter, or if you're one of the Masters of the Multiverse who get your name mangled by me. Agile Monk of Fantasy Companion Workshops, Keith Ammon of The Monsters Know What They're Doing, Lou Anders of Lazy Wolf Studios, Craig Bailey, Rudy Chainsaw Basso, Dave Bastiensen, Derek the Bearded GM, Steve Bissonette, Eric Blackman, Bosch John from Duality Press, Calvin Bridges of Alos, Robo Ballin, Kevin Criswell, That Inertia DM, Evil John, Evan at Nimbleco, Will Doyle, Andy Edmonds at NerdDrumnomicon.com, James Fisher, Scott Fitzgerald Gray at Insane Angel Studios, Ben Heisler and Paige Laitman, Sean Hurst, Hyperlexic, the Jaunty Mantis TTRPG Podcast, Mark and Mary's Gaming Compound, The Mighty Jerd, JR of the Twilight Perspective, JT Evans, Brian King, Jim Klingler, Gail Corbindy, Chad Lynch, Paul Mata, The Mathemagician, Jaren from Mathis Arcanum. That one's going to trip me up a few times. Eric Mengi, Anna B. Meyer of Fantasy Cartography, Trey McLemore, John Mickey, Sean Molly, Falcon Neal, Tom Nelson of the Deck of Player Safety, DT Norris of DT and Dragons, Bill Wirt from the Philadelphia Area Gaming Expo. I hope everyone there had a lot of fun. Philip and Lindsay, Frog Prince at Tentacles Squelching Wetly, Post Fiction RPG Audio, Ricardo Who Might Adventure, Robert Pasley, Vladimir Prunner from Croatia, Ozymandias Rex, Runner Rick, Chance Russo at Drago Russo, Andy Shakti, Krishna Simosa, Tim Smith, Spark from Dunner Games, Jeff Stevens at JeffStevensGames.com, Josh and Lee Wanika of the Tabletop Journeys podcast, Talos the Stormlord, Jeremy Talaman from the D&D and TV podcast, Therese, Ryan Schrook, Joe Tyler, Marcelo de Velasquez, the Valiant DM, Christina Vasinlena, photography from Bergen, Norway, James Walton, Graham Ward, Jason Ward from Accidental Cyclops Games, Javier Waziak, Waterford Wizard, Chris Webster, Zach Types, and Z. Walt Winfrey. I made it through with my face still intact.
Yeah, let's call it an A+ for effort.
Yes, an A+ on a scale of A++++ to A+. Thank you for the support, everybody. Thank you for listening. Even if you can't support us via the Patreon, no problem, but you can help us out by going to wherever you listen to this show and give us a rating, give us some stars, give us a review, give us whatever helps spread the joy of role-playing games. You can also go to our YouTube channel, youtube.com/@masteringdungeons, and leave us a comment. Subscribe to that channel. We do appreciate that. Teos, where can people find your work?
Ooh, head over to alphastream.org. This week I'll have a post on starting with Stranger Things, and I just released the video today. This is all about if you are brand new and you watch this show and this start to finish, and you're like, "Wow, that was amazing! How could I get me some D&D?" Then I've written this video and blog post for that.
Awesome. You can find me on the socials at Shawn Merwin. You can find the podcast on the socials at Mastering D&D. And go to YouTube, go wherever you can to find us. So we now know a lot more about Legends of Greyhawk. We now know a lot about that. We now know a little more about Realms lore. What are we going to do now?
Ooh, my goodness. Well, I'm going to go camp out at Ed Greenwood's home and try to suggest that I'm the next person you should partner with. And together we will make an amazing Forgotten Realms that will be unforgettable. Unforgettable Realms.
The Unforgettable Realms. I thought you were going to talk him into making some 3D products for the Forgotten Realms.
Those would not be okay products.